Today's video is sponsored by our good friends at Docking Bay 94. Check us out on comicsandgames.com. Shipping countrywide. Hello everyone, and welcome to I wouldn't say an exciting episode, but just something to entertain during these difficult times. If you follow my Facebook page, I posted news concerning a real American hero, in the sense that Hasbro and IDW has issued a cease order, a work stoppage. And yes, a lot of people are saying this is a tribute to the corona outbreak, and that is true. But leading up to that, I mean, with my relationship with some of the artists that work on a real American hero, I've discovered some things. I don't want to disclose fully, but I'm just going to say that it is 50% because of the corona, but also 50% of just kind of conflict of interest, or like with the GIJoe Snake Eyes movie coming out in October, what's currently going on in GIJoe, what Hasbro wishes Larry Hama would do leading up to that. So there's a lot of politics behind the scenes. I'm sure once this corona stuff ends, that like every other title, they will begin resuming work on a real American hero, and thus I'll be back to recapping modern IDW GIJoe comics. But again, just keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope this, whatever it is that they have, they work it out, along with the corona thing and diamond distributors. Everything gets worked out and we get back, resume normalcy, a little bit of normal. But I thought this episode would be kind of fun, in the sense that, first and foremost, I defer to comic tropes and Chris Pierce and his channel as the all-knowing everything related to comics. I mostly deal with GIJoe, and that's my little niche in this YouTube world. But, as you guys know, I've been diving into other titles and resuming comics that I haven't, it's like going back to an old friend. And that's why I'm enjoying doing it at, 40 something versus to when I was a young kid. Like things that I remember, things I enjoy, seeing how different the world of comic collecting has become versus when we were kids. So just kind of like that, diving into a world that you sort of know, but you kind of lost touch with, has been kind of fun. So I thought it would be good to kind of showcase some of the books that I picked up recently, because what better time is to read comics than now, when there's basically nothing to do. But again, you have to be mindful of economic situation and your budget and everything else. So I try to maintain that, and this is what, and also what's going to happen with the Disney Plus and the MCU, like books that would kind of like, and you'll see like what I think will catch on fire once these shows and movies come out. So let's dive into what I picked up. The first one is actually pretty cool. It is, the first is Incredible Hulk 282, and this is the first team up of the Incredible Hulk and She-Hulk, and it kind of goes through her origin story and her cousin, and how the only way to save Jennifer is through a blood transfusion, and because of Bruce Banner's blood being affected with gamma rays, his cousin ended up becoming She-Hulk because of that. So I thought this was pretty cool. And I bet you once the Disney Plus She-Hulk series kicks forward, this book will probably skyrocket. And again, like I say with my toys and other stuff I collect, I don't collect for monetary reasons, but because the foresight and just thinking about stuff like that, I find that intriguing. Whether it materializes, I have no idea, but it's fun nonetheless. So that's another one. Now, the second book I picked up is Captain America 323, Now, what's interesting about this, and if G.I. Joe fans will remember this, I think issue 63 with Snake Eyes on it. So this was around the same time. I should pull that issue out in my bin, but this is during that month where Marvel was doing that. But this issue is important because what's going to happen in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series is obviously Steve Rogers, the government or whatever, the Shield is going to find a replacement for Captain America, and it's going to be a character called John Walker, or the Patriot, and he's going to resume the Captain America's motif, so to speak. So he's going to be the new Captain America. So this is this first appearance of that character, John Walker, in the MCU in Marvel. So this will be in another important issue leading up to that series. All right, the next one is kind of like, the best thing about comics is that you could go into different worlds, different genres. It's not like, I have G.I. Joe. That's my military, I love that to death. But also, you guys know that I like Tarot, Witch of the Black Rose, which deals with witch, like spells and all of that other stuff. I also like a little bit of the horror type of titles as well. Like, I do like vampires and werewolves and demonic things. I mean, I love Black Sabbath. I love metal music to begin with. So, not that I'm like, it's just cool and fun. So, one of the characters I've always loved is Ghost Rider. So, this is Ghost Rider #1 from the 90s. And you guys may remember how popular this #1 was back in the day. And, I remember having this book, so it's good to get this #1 once again back in my collection. And because of what Marvel has done, they have, restarted this series. So this is the modern 2020 Ghost Rider #1. And again, Johnny Blaze, the bike, the flames, I mean, I just love that shit. I eat that stuff up. So I'm glad to have the old one that I remember as a kid and the new one. So Ghost Rider. And I posted about this on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but I wanted to showcase this. This, G.I. Joe fans, you guys know how important this is to me. This is Larry Hama's signature. This is my first Larry Hama signed anything, and this was issue 250, and was the variant cover, which is, this cover itself is pretty difficult to find. So the fact that it is a homage to kind of version 1 and version 2, yeah, of course there's no timber, and a customized card back, I think it's kind of cool. And you see Larry Hama's signature and the year 2017 next to it. This was a steal. Like, I mean, I couldn't pass this up, and I could tell the guy who sold it to me was like, oh shit, I got the better end of this deal. So I'm really excited to have something from Larry Legend himself in my collection. And I know I posted, since I'm not going to be able to do any modern recaps, maybe there is a back issue some of you might be interested in me recapping. So what we're going to do in this month is recap issue 200, which is a special double issue. So look forward to this coming in the month. What makes this issue special, it's when the last Herb Trimpe covers that he did before he sadly passed away. So that's why I wanted to get this cover variant, is because it was anything that marked the end of, with Herb in it, I think is extra special. So I made sure to get this cover variant. And that's the big thing that I've learned in today's comic world. It's that the variant covers, and you guys seen when I covered G.I. Joe and when I recommended Elvira and other titles, there would be, I showcased the cover variants, but apparently that is really important in today's comics, because that could mean, in a monetary sense, it could mean the difference between a $6 book or a $16 book or a $60 book. I mean, based on the variants. So, I mean, I don't really care, but in the comic collecting, that's a big thing, to get the exclusive variants. All right, so going along, this is a mini series within, and again, the cover struck me, but this is XMen and the Fantastic Four. So this is another, look at this cover. I mean, again, it's just beautifully done. So that's what drew me to this particular book, is that the cover was just phenomenal. So why the X-Men and Fantastic Four is because Reed Richards and the Invisible Woman's children are actually mutants. So that's where their interaction with the X-Men is, you know, unfolding. Like, you know, they have this super mutant children that have this crazy abilities. So I think that, you know, he seeks out Dr. Doom, the son, Reed Richards' son, and the Invisible Woman's son seeks out Dr. Doom for help. And that's like, ooh, that's, you know, that's your dad's like worst enemy to like befriend and seek for consultation. So that's what makes this kind of interesting. And another one I picked up is Hellions #1. And again, these books that I'm showcasing all relate to the X-Men world. And the X-Men world is kind of like, I mean, I would recommend reading, like, there's a paperback of House of X and the first few X-Men, because the X-Men are now occupying this new island that's a mutant-friendly island, and they have their own governing body and make their own laws pertaining to mutants. So it's kind of like a safe haven, a safe state for mutants all over the world. And it doesn't matter what, if you're a good mutant or a bad mutant, like, you have a place to go to. So this series, Hellions, deals with the misfits, the bad mutants that, you know, need a little bit extra help. It's like they're special ed in you know, of the mutant world. Like, these are the worst of the worst. And how are they going to honor this commitment of being a safe haven to all mutants when there's just some mutants that are just rotten, and how they're going to deal with that? So that's what makes this book a little interesting. Another book that I picked up, and this one I had as a kid, I definitely remember, is X-Men #240, and it's not expensive, but again, this is like vintage X-Men in the 90s, and the cover, the art, Mr. Sinister is on there, and just like, you know, the BDSM of the female characters. I mean, it's risque, but again, it was the 90s, and this is just one of those, this Inferno series just brings back so many memories, and this is a book I had as a kid, so to find it and be reunited with it is a bonus. The next one I got is actually pretty cool. It's Spider-Woman #1. If you remember my last posting, you know, Marvel has rebooted Spider-Woman again with Spider-Woman #1. So I went back and got the original Spider-Woman #1. And again, Jessica Drew, wow. I mean, she's just wonderful and very special. I mean, I think she's beautiful. And she's fully clothed, nothing like, you know, but it's just the fact that, you know, that she has all the right curves, let's be honest. So, again, just having this important, iconic issue. And who knows, they might do something with this character in Disney Plus or something down the road. So to get this, a very inexpensive #1, it's a good time to invest in something like that. Another first that's going to be making a big splash with the Black Widow movie is Taskmaster. So this is Avengers 195, and this is Taskmaster's first appearance in comic books. So this is probably going to skyrocket once the movie comes out, because that's basically where the value is in comics nowadays. It's either first appearances, costume changes, so on and so forth. So that's why this is an important issue and something worth, you know, looking into as an investment or what have you, is this issue of Avengers, because who knows what they're going to be doing with Taskmaster beyond the Black Widow movie. He may become a prominent character in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. So just to see what they're going to do with this character and how, you know, this being his first introduction into the world is kind of significant. And going back on that theme is, this is the first appearance of Morbius. And we saw how Jared Leto, you know, kind of his Joker didn't take on, so now he's taking on Morbius's character. So again, dealing with a little bit of that horror type, you know, he's like a Dracula based character. And his first appearance is actually in Moon Knight number 12. So I thought this was actually another good pickup to get now while, you know, nothing is going on. And that's basically what I've been doing, is finding all of these. The next one is another Uncanny X-Men from the 90s, is X-Men 232, and featuring the Brood. And this is, you know, their return, and it remains to be seen what they're going to do with this storyline, because there's been some inkling that the Brood is going to find its way somewhere. And I mean, everything is speculation, but again, anything to do with the Brood is actually kind of intriguing, and how I mean, you could see them being the mutants, you know, when Marvel and, you know, the Marvel Studios does something, they could be an adversary to mutants, and how the X-Men get introduced into the MCU. So this remains to be seen. But again, this is another one that I had as a kid. And look at this. That looks nasty, doesn't it? That's a pretty cool cover. All right, the next one is actually an important, is Wolverine #1 variant cover. Now, Wolverine supposedly died and has been brought back to life. So that's what makes this whole series interesting. And this is a variant cover as well. So how before we had that X23, his daughter that we saw in Logan, she was primarily the Wolverine up until this point, and now, you know, nobody dies forever in comics. So to bring back this iconic character and this landmark variant cover is important. So I thought this is a good pickup as well. Another one I got is Ghost Rider from 1977. This is issue 29. So 77 being my birth year, and the fact that, you know, I could find an inexpensive title from that year was kind of advantageous. Again, the artwork, and he's going up against Doctor Strange, and I mean, this is just beautifully done. I mean, that's what caught me, is the cover. Again, it's just this scream 70s Bronze Era comics, and I just love it to death. So that's another wonderful, happy pickup. And another Fantastic Four from, I think this is, what year is this? I think this is 74. Yeah, but Fantastic Four issue number 102, featuring the Submariner. So I thought that would be, again, what they're going to do with this. There's rumors of him, Namor, coming into the MCU. They've had plenty of clues in the MCU. So, you know, anything with him in the Fantastic Four is probably intriguing. And again, another wonderful classic cover that the artwork just screams. It's just beautiful. And, you know, remember, this was the era without computer aid or any type of digital. This was all like just pure talent. So again, I couldn't resist that. And since we're on that theme, this is Submariner issue number 26. Again, I just found this to be, again, another 70s book that I couldn't resist, and just again the artwork and just how beautiful it is just wonderful. Another oldie. This is kind of an interesting. This is the Phoenix the Untold story. So after the whole Phoenix saga, Marvel released these supplement to the XMen saga featuring the Phoenix, and it's kind of like a side story that was going on at the same time. So I thought this is issue 1 actually, the Phoenix the Untold story. So I thought this was something, even though the movie sucked, the last X-Men movie, but just anything with the Phoenix, you know, they can't resist to not go back to this storyline. So, you know, just to have this is kind of cool. And Jean Grey, ooh, Claremont goodness. Alright, and some others. Again, some more Ghost Riders, because I love Ghost Rider to death. So again, basically this is Ghost Rider 24, and the cover just speaks for itself. Just beautiful artwork, beautiful, like, you know, colors and everything. And I'm going to say the same thing about Ghost Rider number 36. And, like, you know, let's look at that. I mean, that's just the flames and everything. That's just fantastic goodness right there. So I enjoyed picking those up as well. And the next one is kind of like I talked about this quite a bit, is I've been following the Star, which is an adversary to Captain Marvel. So, you know, like I said, I always pick up like these new books, and I'll probably do like 3 or 4 to see if I, you know, jives. And if it does, I'll stick with it. If it doesn't, I'll jump to something else. So usually it's 3 issues, and then I make a judgment call on if it's worthwhile. So this is issue number 3. And I'm interested to see where this goes. But basically, she's embedded with the Infinity Stone, and she could be swayed to be good or bad. So, like, both parties are converging onto her to try to persuade her one way or another. So it's going to be interesting to see which direction this character goes. And right now, she's being escorted by Scarlet Witch. So that's going to be interesting. And the last book is going to be Cable number 1. I haven't read this. I don't know anything about it, but it's going to be interesting. It's a number 1. It's a variant cover. You can't go like anything all black. Think of the Metallica, the Black Album, AC/DC, the Black Album. So obviously I had to pick this up because it was a black cover. That's basically the only reason I have for that. But I'll read it and see how it goes. And you know, Cable's another prominent character that's been featured, you know, in Deadpool number 3, and you know, where that they're going to take this character now that Disney has acquired the rights to it. That's going to be intriguing. Josh Brolin did a great job portraying him. Anyway, so that's it with this episode. I hope everybody's taking the precaution and being safe, and just hope everyone's doing good, and I look forward to seeing you when we do a recap of issue 200. This is Shabu Are You, signing off. Bye.